Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to societal and cultural news from yesterday. There was a big development in the whole NewJeans situation.
Oh, yeah, that girl group. What happened?
So the court granted an injunction requested by their agency, ADOR, which basically stops the members of NewJeans from doing any independent professional activities.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a setback for the group members who wanted to get out of their exclusive contracts with the agency.
I see. So the court basically sided with the agency.
They did. The
Yeah.
court recognized how much money and effort ADOR had put into developing and launching NewJeans.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically said that if the members were allowed to just break their contracts after only 2 years, it would really hurt ADOR financially and damage their
That
reputation.
makes sense.
So the court upheld the contracts.
It shows how seriously they take these contracts in the entertainment industry and how they protect agencies that invest a lot in developing talent.
Right. Even though NewJeans had said there were contract violations, the court wasn't convinced.
Interesting.
Now, this next one isn't directly about Korea, but it was in the news yesterday. Hong Kong actor Andy Lau was threatened with someone releasing private photos of him if he didn't pay them, and the person behind it was caught in Seoul.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just shows how interconnected this region is and how international law enforcement works. Even though the crime happened somewhere else, the perpetrator was brought to justice because of cooperation with South Korean authorities.
It's a good example of how global crime is and how important it is for law enforcement agencies around the world to work together.
Absolutely. Now, on a lighter note, yesterday's news really highlighted the massive global influence of Korean pop culture. It seems that Blackpink's Jennie simply mentioning her favorite Korean snack on a U.S. talk show had a huge impact.
Yeah, I heard about that. What happened?
Well, after she casually mentioned it, the stock price of the company that makes that snack, Nongshim, went up for 4 straight trading days.
Wow.
Yeah, and that led to a big jump in the company's market value. It's amazing how much power K-pop stars have to influence what people buy.
It really is. They have a huge reach, and their fans really listen to them.
And lastly, in society and culture news, KBS, the Korean broadcasting system, came out strongly yesterday denying a report from MBC, which is Monjowa Broadcasting Corporation.
Okay.
NBC had reported that KBS knew about the martial law declaration back in December before it happened, which is a pretty serious claim.
Yeah.
KBS is completely denying it, saying it's not true at all. They've gone to the Press Arbitration Commission to try and get mediation against NBC for reporting what they say are false claims.
So you've got this big conflict going on between two major news broadcasters in South Korea.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about some of the economic and business news from yesterday. One big story was a major defense company's stock price taking a hit after a company announcement.
Oh, yeah, I think you saw that.
Shares of Hanwha Aerospace dropped by more than 13% after they announced a big paid-in capital increase. It's called shigashon. That's when a company issues new shares to get more money.
Right.
It's good for the company in the long run because they get more investment funds. But sometimes it makes the existing shares less valuable in the short term, which is why the market reacted negatively.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there was even a stock issuance caution alert put out, so people are definitely worried about what this move could mean.
Interesting.
Okay, another piece of business news. HomePlus, the big retailer, made an announcement yesterday about their debts.
Okay, what's going on with them?
They've decided to reclassify some bonds, the ones connected to credit card companies, and the securitization of their accounts payable as commercial bonds.
So what does that mean exactly?
It means they're going to be repaying the investments in those securitized securities.
Oh, so that's good news for the investors.
Yeah, it is. They've said the remaining balance for those securitized accounts payable is about 461.8 billion won.
Mm-hmm.
And HomePlus has committed to paying it all back as part of their rehabilitation process.
So they're trying to protect investors and make sure they don't lose money.
Exactly. And they're hoping this will restore some confidence in their financial stability.
It's a proactive step, especially given their current situation. It seems they're trying to reassure the market and their creditors.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, this next bit of news is about something everyone can relate to. Beer prices.
Uh-oh.
OB Beer, the company behind Cass and other big brands, announced they're raising their factory prices by an average of 2.9% next month.
Okay.
So that means we'll all probably be paying more for our beer soon.
Yeah, I figured.
OB Beer said they have to do it because the cost of imported raw materials and processed materials is going up because of exchange rates and high oil prices.
It's another example of how the global economy affects the things we buy every day.
Yeah, for sure. And sticking with food news, there's been a study showing a worrying rise in the number of, those whale roundworm parasites being found in mackerel caught in Korea.
Really?
Yeah, particularly in the EC.
Oh, that's not good.
The study says that the numbers are now similar to what they're finding in mackerel from the Pacific Ocean.
So what does that mean for people who eat mackerel?
Well, those parasites can make you sick, like food poisoning, if the fish isn't cooked properly.
Oh, wow.
So it's really important to make sure you cook mackerel thoroughly.
Definitely good advice.
And lastly, in economy and business news, there was a pretty strange report about what's happening in Myeongdong, the big shopping district.
What happened?
The Trademark Special Judicial Police arrested 8 people for selling fake goods, like bags, clothes, and wallets.
Oh.
But get this, they were apparently only targeting foreign tourists.
Oh, really?
And they were supposedly making something like 10 million won a month doing this.
So they were taking advantage of tourists who might not be familiar with prices or the market. That raises some questions about fairness and how well tourists are protected.
Yeah, it definitely does. It seems like a deliberate and possibly unethical business tactic.
It does. It highlights the need to be extra careful, especially for international visitors who might not know as much about the local market.
Now, let's talk about some other notable events from yesterday. A big wildfire broke out in Sancheong, in Gyeongdam province.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it spread quickly and escalated to a level 3 alert, which is the highest level we've seen this year.
Wow, so it was a bad one.
Yeah, 160 residents had to be evacuated, and by the end of yesterday, it had burned about 120 hectares of land. They'd only managed to contain about 10% of it.
That's a pretty serious fire.
It is. Acting President Choi Sang-mok immediately issued an emergency directive telling them to throw everything they've got at this fire and put resident safety first.
So they're taking it very seriously.
Absolutely. Wildfires can be devastating, so they're not taking any chances.
Good.
And we talked about Hong Kong actor Andy Lau being targeted in that extortion attempt. But I just wanted to mention again that the person responsible was caught here in Seoul.
Right.
It's a reminder of how international law enforcement works and how criminals can't always escape justice by crossing borders.
Exactly. Cooperation between countries is so important in cases like this.
Okay. And lastly, a kind of strange international news story from the UK. A teenager died suddenly from sepsis, and during the autopsy, they found he was missing an organ.
Oh, wow. That's strange.
Yeah, it's a weird case, and while it's not directly related to Korea, it reminds us of the complexities and mysteries that can pop up in medicine and forensic investigations.
It certainly does.
So, looking back at all the major events that happened in Korea just yesterday, Friday, March 21st, 2025, some pretty clear themes emerge. We saw a lot of political maneuvering and conflict, especially around those impeachment attempts targeting key figures in the government.
Yeah, it's a very volatile political environment right now with deep divisions and everyone strategically positioning themselves as they wait for those crucial decisions from the Constitutional Court.
We also saw significant developments internationally, like the U.S. needing more eggs from South Korea because of their avian influenza problems, the diplomatic discussions about South Korea being labeled a sensitive country by the U.S., and the ongoing efforts to strengthen energy cooperation between the two countries.
Those international stories really highlight South Korea's complex global connections, both in terms of trade and diplomacy, and all of this is happening against the backdrop of this domestic political uncertainty.
And then there were the legal proceedings involving high-profile individuals, like the trial of the former Defense Security Commander and the rejection of those detention warrants for the Presidential Security Service officials. It shows that power is being scrutinized, and people are watching closely to see how the rule of law is being upheld.
And all those societal and economic trends we saw yesterday, like the court decision about NewJeans, the impact of that celebrity snack endorsement, the rising beer prices, and even those unusual business practices in Myeongdong, they all give us a glimpse into daily life and commerce in Korea.
Yeah, it's a fascinating mix of events.
Okay.
It really makes you think about how these seemingly separate things will ultimately come together to shape Korea's stability at home and its position globally in the months ahead.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
It is. That's all for today's Korea Briefing.